All right, hello everyone, and thank you for tuning in once again to the Black Box Podcast, BBOR, Black Box Online Radio. Today we're talking all about the disappearance of Brandon Lawson. This comes to us from San Angelo, Texas, and we have just passed the 5-year mark since Brandon went missing, and actually back in July, a few major media outlets covered the story, and the exact date that Brandon went missing, though, was August 8th, 2013, and I'm recording this now in September of 2018, so we've just seen 5 years, and still Brandon has not been found. This is one of those cases that has really been tied to media, where there was something that attracted people from all corners of the internet because of the very famous 911 call. And, I guess I can just read forth a little description before we get into the real discussion, but like all uploads on this channel, it's mostly geared toward people who are somewhat familiar with the case, so we can discuss the theories. But August 8th, 2013 was the last time that Brandon was seen in San Angelo. He and his longtime girlfriend had gotten into an argument, which led to Brandon leaving home around 11:54 p.m., with intentions of going to his father's residence. Approximately 45 minutes later, Brandon called his brother Kyle to tell him he had run out of gas. What is known is that following his phone call to his brother, Kyle, something happened and Brandon phoned 911. Like I said, just reading that off, if you're listening to this corner of YouTube, you're probably somewhat familiar with the case. There's a very, very famous 911 call, and let's talk about that. What on earth is he saying? Because a lot of people think that that is kind of the key. They think there is there's a message that he is saying in the part that was released to the public. It was actually a rather lengthy call, but the police had taken out some of it, and when they gave it to Ladessa, his common-law wife, a large portion of the call was cut out. But there's one line in there where it begins, where they say, 911, what's your emergency? And he says that he was standing in the middle of a field, and then the famous line, Stapers just threw some guys over, heading toward Abilene on both sides. What on earth was he saying? Now, I'm going to say two things, so you got to bear with me, because the second one I think is more substantial. I listened to this 911 call so many times, and I did this the first time before I ever had this channel, before I was ever doing any sort of true crime podcast. And I really came to the conclusion that he was saying the word Stapers. And some people were saying they heard the word strooper or stroopers, that he's mashing together the word state trooper and state and trooper into troopers. There is no strooper. No, absolutely not. He was definitively, there's a very long A sound in there. I was like, he's saying the word state trooper, but he's also saying the word police. Because I was thinking, I never would say that to someone and I know we're different people, Brandon and I weren't the same person, but I was like, I would never say there were state troopers on both sides. No. I would say there are state police. And he's saying two words at the same time. I do this all the time. Especially, when I'm doing things like this, like a podcast recording, and you're talking very fast, like he was. And he was just clearly, two words are coming out at the same time. He's mixing the words trooper and police, and it's coming out as staper. So then that was this huge theory on the internet that Brandon witnessed the state troopers doing something illegal to somebody. We don't know who. And he happened to see something that he shouldn't have, so they shot him. To be as grim as that sounds, that is the largest theory about what happened. I decided to revisit this case, and as I said, there's been quite a bit of media about this on the 5-year anniversary. And listening to some of the more slowed down ones, I was really listening to the standard recording, but, they have the slowed down version. And once again, I was listening to that 911 call over and over again, And, people were saying that, the ones who were transcribing were saying that he's saying the word not Stapers, but escapers. And I was like, well, I doubt anyone would actually use the word escapers. So he's saying that he's in the middle of a field, right? Just escaped from those guys over, or these guys over. And I believe he just didn't finish the sentence. These guys over there. Standing in the middle of I'm in the middle of a field. I forget the exact opening. I'm in the middle of a field. Escaped just from these guys over. He's saying that he escaped. So once again, that means that Brandon was witnessing something illegal. And I say the biggest thing that supports that is, well, people were just saying, if you witness the state troopers do something illegal, why would you ask for the cops? I mean, why? And I'd have to admit, I was really set on that whole notion that he was saying, state troopers and state police at the same time, so the word came out Stapers. But he asks for the cops. I mean, if you witness the state police doing something illegal, why say, no, I don't need an ambulance, I need the cops? And it's like, that's just a giant wrench in that theory that he witnessed the state troopers doing something illegal. It would definitely be plausible about why there was such a big cover-up. It would definitely answer a lot of questions. It just fits like a glove, to be honest. But, I mean, that's always bothered me about why ask for the cops, And once again, listening to the slowed down versions, like I said many times, I mean, I'm sure you have too, because it's just one of those things that you can't shake, You're just like, what is he trying to convey? And it's more just like, escaped from these guys over. I think that's kind of a more feasible thing, and he just didn't finish the sentence because he was out of breath. And, it's like, when you're panicking like that, I mean, that's probably just one of the things that we do. Now, there's been this discussion. Are there two voices on the tape or one? There's that very, very particular line when they ask him, do you need an ambulance? And you hear no, I need the cops. And it's like, one voice is very faint, one voice is very low, out of breath, and then you hear Brandon's voice, which is very sharp and clear at the time. Was that a second person? Well, now this is going to sound kind of weird, but the first time I was listening to the Brandon Lawson stuff and researching the case back in 2017, I was also listening to some stand-up from the comedian Bill Hicks. And, he's also from Texas, though. Not that that's important now, but he was, doing a stand-up routine, and he did something like that, where his voice got really low, and he's like, no, I need that. And then, his voice changed to something very high-pitched and clear. And one of the things, though, his common-law wife, Ladessa, did not believe that was a second person, or at least she didn't say that in one of her interviews. She said that she didn't believe that was a second person. And the whole point I brought up the comedian was, it's possible for the human voice to do that. And that's all I can really say about that. Were there two voices or one? It's possible either way, but I would say, though, I don't see definitive proof that was a second person. And, since we're talking about theories, I mean, I'm going to have to be very adamant. I do believe that Brandon passed away the night of the 911 call, and you can hear how interrupted it is. I mean, I think he passed away. Whoever ended his life took the body and they probably put it on a truck or in a van or in a car, whatever transportation unit they had, and they drove him somewhere. And he was either buried, disposed, submerged in water. I don't know exactly, but the reasons why I believe that would be, I don't think Brandon left voluntarily. If he had left voluntarily within these 5 years, I'm sure he would have tried to contact his 4 children, or at the very least his common-law wife, Ledessa. And the 911 call is so telling about how it really seems like he encountered something destructive. Okay, but who was it? If it wasn't the state troopers, which it possibly was, I don't rule that out. Because as I said, that does explain a lot. Did Brandon witness something associated with a drug cartel? That's something that people have been pushing around on the internet a lot. Equally plausible. However, this whole drug cartel angle is something that, is quite difficult to... It's quite difficult to say specifically who he saw. What we can really say is, it really does sound like now that he said he escaped from these guys over... Or he escaped just from these guys over there. And he's trying to say that people are chasing him. He's trying to say that someone is after him. He either saw something he shouldn't have, or someone else has also brought up the possibility of, what if he just asked somebody for help, and that person, went kind of berserk because that person was doing something illegal? Or maybe, that person just got angry at him for some reason, or, they thought something that they shouldn't have. Because, bear in mind, his truck, F-150, right, was out of gas, and he's just on the side of the road, and someone... Okay, I'm trying not to speculate too much, but I read this on a comment section. Someone said, what if he said fuck you to a passing car or something like that, and that person got really aggravated? I don't necessarily say that. I mean, I'm not saying that. Someone just put it out as a possibility that, anything could have set somebody off. But what people are really kind of insinuating is, and the most talked about theory out there is, that Brandon probably saw somebody, and he might have been approaching them, maybe even just to ask about gas or something. Do you have a gas can or something like that? And they were either about to shoot someone, or they were doing something majorly illegal to somebody. Because there's that whole notion that, there were multiple people involved. I mean, he might have just seen a drug deal or something, and they didn't want him to live through that. And then once again, since we're talking about theories, back when I was going through that Stapers, that means state police and state troopers said at the same time. Now bear with me, I don't entertain this theory anymore. It was my thinking that he saw a state trooper doing something illegal to some undocumented individuals. It's Texas. You're going to have issues of illegal immigration. I don't entertain that theory anymore. It was just, kind of something that I thought about in 2017. Well, what do you think? What do you think happened to Brandon Lawson? And what do you think the 911 call is all about? Also, one last thing. On this channel, over the next 2 months, I'm hopefully going to be starting sort of a deep dive segment where we spend about 2 days a week, 1 or 2 days every week, discussing the same subject, really trying to go deep into the information and to try and learn a lot about it. Do you have a suggestion about a particular case, a particular mystery, a conspiracy theory, maybe even something historical? Is there any sort of subject that you would like to hear about on a channel, on a podcast? If you have anything to say at all, please drop a comment below. Thank you to everybody who's listened, and let's discuss this Brandon Lawson case a little more. Let's try to get some answers. I hope this case is solved one day. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll talk to you soon.